Welcome to an episode of Ikebana.Insights. My name is George Lynley. I am a Master Teacher in the Shizen School of Ikebana. Ikebana is an ancient floral art form developed in Japan more than 1,200 years ago. It uses live flowers to create sculptural-like arrangements. The student of Ikebana needs to learn several basic art principles, such as composition, line formation, geometric relationships, spatial relationships, balance, especially how to create balance in asymmetry, color combinations and contrasts, depth creation, light and shadow relationships, textural relationships, stasis and movement, and other important art principles. In other words, Ikebana is not just cutting flowers and dropping them into a vase. Ikebana requires thoughtful, advanced planning, careful placement of floral elements during creation, and minute editing after creation. Ikebana is largely unknown in the United States. We hope that these episodes will help you somewhat to become more familiar with this beautiful ancient Japanese art form. The goal of the Shizen School is to teach the creation of what we call household arrangements. By that we mean arrangements that are small enough to be placed in the ordinary house or apartment. Occasionally, we do really large arrangements that are appropriate for the lobby of large buildings, such as hotels, business buildings, hospitals, or large conference rooms. Such large arrangements are stunning and beautiful in large facilities, but because of their size, inappropriate for the ordinary house or apartment. So all the styles that we present in these episodes are fairly small and appropriate for your house or apartment. So today I've chosen to do the one-row style for you, and I will do two versions of the one-row style. The first version is the classic one-row style, and the second version is a variation of the one-row style. As you know, in Ikebana, there is a front and a back. The front, it faces me, and I will use the turntable to turn it so that you can see it as I do the arrangement. I've chosen this particular side as a front because there is a dripping of the glaze which I like, and so this side will be the front. So the first chore is to put in the kenzan, and I've chosen 2 kenzan because this is a rather long arrangement. The second task is to put in the water. And remember that in Ikebana, we fill the container only to the top of the kenzan, not to the top of the container, because then that would be too difficult to manage. So I'm putting in water just to the top of the kenzan. And as I said, I'm using 2 kenzan end to end because this is a rather large arrangement. Okay, that's good. Now to choose the floral elements, and I'm going to mix these floral elements. I have carnations here of different colors, and I like carnations because they last very, very long. And you know that we measure the longest length of the container plus a half, but I think in this case, I will cut it a bit shorter. Remember, always cut short. You can always cut longer, but if you cut too short, then you're stuck with what you've done. Using 2 hands, one hand near the kenzan, and the other hand slightly near the middle of the stem, and then bend it slightly toward you. And as I always say, flowers are like people. Sometimes they do what they want to do and not what you want them to do. And I'm going to variegate this, I'm going to put oops, this one broke. That's okay. Just click it off. That's a bit too short. So I want something a little longer because I want it to be more or less at the level of the first one. Now this one is too, well no, actually, that's a good one. Again, hold one hand near the kenzan and the other hand about the middle of the stem. Okay, that's good. This, now to measure, turn it upside down. That's the quickest way to measure. Don't bother to get a measuring stick, just turn it upside down. Notice I'm holding one hand near the kenzan and the other hand near the middle of the blossom. And let's see. I think I'll take this one. Now I have two kenzan here because this is a rather large arrangement. I should say not a large, but a long arrangement. And so now I'm going to turn this one. Sometimes the petals, in Ikebana we usually don't touch petals. We do touch leaves, but we don't touch petals. Because petals, the natural oils in your finger will change the coloration of the flower. So sometimes, I'm not sure that I want to use that one. Maybe I'll use this one. Again, remember that Ikebana is an art form. And so, slightly too long. You can just keep measuring until you get the length that you want. Again, hold one hand near the kenzan and the other hand toward the middle of the stem. Okay. Now, this is one row. Notice that each one of these blossoms is at a slightly different angle and at a slightly different depth. Some are more to the back and some are more to the front. Now, in order to hide the legginess, because you see these blossoms, these stems are rather leggy, I'm going to use some iris spears. And iris spears are quite wonderful. Remember too that when you cut flowers, always cut them straight across, not at an angle, but straight across. And iris spears are quite wonderful because they give great depth to the arrangement. So Ikebana helps to develop patience.
Don't be afraid to look at me.
Okay. And let's see. Perhaps one more. Sometimes you'll get an iris spear that's slightly curved, and in Ikebana we like that because that's more natural looking. I'm going to make this one a little shorter. Still a little shorter. Always test before you cut. Still a little shorter. And this iris spear is, and so there we are. That is a classic one-row style. And if you like, you can move the kenzan inside the container, but notice that we never put the arrangement directly in the middle, because in Ikebana, asymmetry is the important aspect. So everything is slightly offset, which makes it more natural looking. And let me have another look to be sure that I'm happy with this. Yes, I like this. And so this is a classic one-row style. Now I'm going to add to this one-row style to create a variation. And that is, I'm going to create another one-row style. I'm going to move this one back just a wee bit. And I'm going to create another row here. But the other row, yes, the other row is going to be lower rather than higher. So now that we have the arrangement completed, you know, in the Shizen school, we prefer that the kenzan not be seen. So I keep a box of leaves, and I'm going to hide the kenzan with these leaves. And you can just place them randomly, and it gives a natural look. It also forms a base for the arrangement, and it hides the kenzan. Of course, sometimes with water, it's difficult to get the leaves to stay where you want them to stay. And also these leaves which hide the kenzan give a more natural look. They form a base from which the arrangement grows. And so here we have the finished, oops, that'll happen. Here we have, let me try again. There we go. There we have the finished arrangement with the leaves hiding the kenzan. And so this is the classic one-row style. This is one row. Each blossom is at a slightly different height and a slightly different angle to give it more natural look and to give us a slight sense of depth. Now I'm going to create another row, which in that case it would be called the double row, one row. And so I will remove these leaves for now. Oh, actually, I may just leave them. And I'm going to put other kenzan in for the second row. Again, I'm using 2 kenzan because we will use more flowers, and so we need more kenzan. So now I'm going to create the second row. Remember, I'm working, this is where I am is the front, and where you are is the back. Ikebana is 180, not 360, and so when I finish, I will turn the turntable around so you can see the front. And so now I'm working on the second row, and these are the same flowers as the top row, the front row is going to be shorter, a little shorter. Remember, always cut long. You can always cut shorter, but if you cut short, then you have to deal with it short. Sometimes there's little leaves and you just click them off. Click them off with your hand. And I'm going to put one of these just to relate the second row, the lower row, to the top row. I've been doing this for decades, so I can just tell by looking. I don't really need to measure with a measuring with a ruler. I'm going to cut this one a little shorter. There we go. Okay. And when you tilt them, be sure to use 2 hands, not 1 hand. And sometimes the end gets a bit chewed, and that happens. So just slightly cut off the chewed part, and then reinsert the blossom. So I thought that I would need a second kenzan, but I think I don't. So I'll remove this kenzan. And then I'll slide this kenzan. Now I'm going to use more leaves to hide the kenzan. I have a huge number of leaves which I save. First, I want to put some iris spears, and they need to be cut short. I'm going to put these at the back rather than the front. And notice that this one is really at an angle, and that's good because it looks more natural. Now this, I need slightly smaller leaves rather than very large leaves. And leaves will disintegrate in water, so you have to keep replenishing your stock of leaves. Oh, this one's a bit different, so I'll use that one. There we go. I like that one. This leaf is very different from the other leaves, which gives a more visual interest. So now I'm going to turn it. I've been working at this is the front, and you, the viewer, are at the back. But I'm going to turn it so that you can see it from the front. And what I like about these leaves that hide the kenzan is that this leaf, this one, is a bit different from the others. So that gives more visual variety. And so there we have a double 1 row. The row at the back is larger, not larger, taller, and the row at the front is smaller. And I'm going to move them just slightly. And notice that this iris spear is leaning out to your left, and that gives a more natural look to the arrangement. And so there we have it. That's a double row, 1 row. This is 1 row, this is another row. And when you have 2 rows like that, one is shorter than the other. And there we have it. So the first decision in creating an arrangement is to decide which arrangement style do you want to create. There are 60 plus different arrangement styles in our Shizen tradition. After deciding upon a specific style, the second decision is to select flowers that are best suited for that specific arrangement style. Not just any flowers are appropriate for all arrangement styles. Some flowers are appropriate for some styles, and other flowers are appropriate for other styles. Also important to consider is the season and the occasion. Light-colored flowers are used for spring and summer, and dark-colored flowers are used for autumn and winter. Flowers used for a funeral or memorial service are usually different from flowers used for a birthday party or anniversary party. So there are just a few decisions to be made in choosing floral materials. Then, before creation begins, an appropriate container needs to be chosen. The container needs to be large enough to contain the specific arrangement style and to be appropriate for that style. Also, both the floral material and the container needs to be appropriate to the season and to the occasion in which the arrangement will be presented. If, however, you just want to create a lovely arrangement at any time to enjoy at any time in your household, then only two decisions are needed. First, is the container large enough for the arrangement? And second, are both the floral elements and the container appropriate for the style and the season? Today we created two arrangements. The first one was a single one-row arrangement, which is a high one, and the second one was a lower one-row arrangement, so we have a double row of one-row arrangements. Both of these arrangements are appropriate for any season and probably for any occasion. Because both styles are somewhat long in length, I've chosen a long container. Since both styles use several flowers, I used several kenzan. Both these styles are easy to create and enjoyable for you and your family and friends to see in your household throughout the day. Ikebana develops creativity, which activates a different part of the brain than the part that we use in our everyday lives. Looking carefully at an arrangement and contemplating it brings some peace and stress-free aspects into our lives. If you have any questions, you can email us at the e-address at the bottom of the screen. I wish you personal peace and enjoyment in creating a lovely Ikebana arrangement. Sayonara.